Okay, here we have what we call a box and whisker plot, named really because of the way it looks. So you've got this box in the middle, and then out to each end are what we call the whiskers. So what looks like a fairly simple graph actually gives us quite a lot of detail about the data set. So the first thing that we want to look at is what we call the 5-number summary. So there are 5 specific points on this graph that tell us information. So starting at the left-hand end, we've got our point at the end here, which in this case has a value of 15, and that is our minimum value. So that's our first thing. Working our way up, we've got this second point here, which is in line with the edge of the box. Okay, and that's called our lower quartile. The next line that we reach is this line in the middle here, and that represents the median value. So remembering that the median is the middle value of a set of scores. Okay, continuing on, we get to the other end of the box, and this end of the box is called the upper quartile. Okay, and then finally at the very end we've got what we call the maximum. Okay, so a box and whisker plot, that's how it's created, using those 5 values. So when you're given a set of data, you determine those 5 values, and that allows you to draw this box and whisker plot. Okay, let's have a closer look at those things. So what we would do is we would write down our 5-number summary. So let's call it a 5-number summary. And given a box and whisker graph, then we would normally write those things down. So our minimum in this case is 15. Our lower quartile, which we can call Q1 for lower quartile, quartile 1. In this case the value is 21. Our median is 28. If we look here, it's in line with that value, which is 28. Our upper quartile, which we actually call quartile 3. The reason it's not quartile 2 is because the median is actually quartile 2. Okay, so quartile 3, the upper quartile is 31. And then finally, the maximum, or just max, in this case is 38. Again, because that point lines up with 38 on our number plane below. Okay, so that's our 5-number summary. Now, given that information, we can then be asked a variety of other questions. So things like the range. So if I asked you to find the range from that box and whisker plot, remember it's the maximum subtract the minimum, and so therefore the range in this case is 38 subtract 15, and what's that, 23. So that data has a range of 23. Okay, there's also something called the interquartile range. Okay, and that's the range between the upper and lower quartiles. So that, to determine that, is quartile 3 minus quartile 1. So from over here we had quartile 3 was 31 and quartile 1 was 21. So when we do that, we get an interquartile range of 10. Okay, finally, what's also important about this box and whisker plot is that each section represents a quarter of the data. Hence why it's called the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So what that means is that 25% of the scores are between the minimum and the lower quartile. We then have another 25% of the scores between the lower quartile and the median, and another 25% of the scores between the median, the upper quartile, and the last quarter, or last 25%, is from the upper quartile to the maximum. Okay, so that means that 25% of the scores are in each section. So you can also see that the middle 50% of the scores would lie within that box there. So that represents 50% of the scores. Okay, so that's how a box and whisker plot is read. What I would like you to do now is go back to your page, and I want you to write all that information onto the blank box and whisker plot. And if you need help reminding yourself of what you needed to write down, come back and watch this video again. Fast forward to the parts that you need help with.